Ravens' new rookie tight end Isaiah Likely has been one of the stars of preseason thus far. A few days ago, I made a video about Romeo Doubs and how he was a huge star of preseason, but Isaiah Likely has been as good or if not better than Doubs this preseason, and it's a great sign for the Baltimore Ravens. If you are new here, consider subscribing and dropping a like on the video if you guys do enjoy it. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers. We're getting very close, so if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that button. But with all that being said, let's hop into the video about Isaiah Likely and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens are known as one of the best organizations in football. It seems like every draft they get one or two gems towards the end of their draft, and it's really interesting to see what rookies that aren't very hyped up when they're drafted for the Ravens end up becoming a very good player later in their career. Many people are already starting to believe Isaiah Likely is the next player to fall into that category. Ravens got him in the 4th round, 139th overall out of Coastal Carolina, and Likely had a very good college career. He got better every single season of his collegiate career. He didn't play for a major Power 5 school, and he was still able to produce, and many draft experts were shocked that he fell all the way to the 4th round in the draft because of what he was able to do in college. As a freshman, Likely didn't play a whole lot. He had 12 catches for 106 yards and 5 touchdowns. He came back his sophomore year, had a little bit more of an advanced role, catching 32 passes for 431 yards and 5 touchdowns. His junior campaign was really when he became the solidified tight end 1 for Coastal Carolina, got 30 passes for 601 yards and 5 touchdowns. In his senior season where he really broke out, he had 59 catches for 912 yards and 12 touchdowns. He practically doubled his catches and touchdowns from a season ago, and it's great to see players develop through every single year of their college career, and I think that was something that really intrigued the Ravens when they made the selection. But what I think is even crazier about the Ravens draft is Likely was not even the first tight end for the Ravens. They drafted Charlie Kolar out of Iowa State in the 4th round, 11 picks before Likely was actually selected. So the Ravens' second tight end in the draft is the one that's been breaking out. The Ravens have been looking for a tight end to pair with Mark Andrews ever since they traded away Hayden Hurst to the Falcons, when they gave Hurst and a 2020 4th round pick in exchange for a 2020 2nd round pick and a 5th round pick from the Falcons. Hurst and Andrews had potential to be the best tight end duo in the league, but as Andrews was getting a little bit more developed and becoming the real tight end 1 for the Ravens, Hurst became a little bit expendable, and that is why they decided to move on from him and regain a 2nd round pick. But since that point, the Ravens really haven't been able to find a viable and consistent tight end number 2, and there's hope that Likely can excel in that role with Andrews, and the Ravens can dominate teams in 12 personnel, which will make their offense even more scary. They will keep defenses completely off balance because they can run a pass or a run off of that type of personnel. And if you have two great receiving threats on either side of the line, you have Andrews on the right side, Likely on the left, it's going to be a huge matchup nightmare for defenses. And that is great news for the Ravens because they are going to need some more playmakers in their offense this season. One of the more surprising trades of this offseason was when the Ravens traded Marquise Brown to the Cardinals for a 1st round pick. Hollywood Brown had been the wide receiver 1 for Lamar and the Ravens the last few years, but with Hollywood wanting to reunite with his former college teammate Kyler Murray and the Ravens being able to net a 1st round pick for him, they saw it as a good idea to part ways, and that's exactly what happened during the offseason. But to get back to Isaiah Likely, he's been putting on a show in the preseason. It started week 1 against the Titans when he had 4 receptions for 44 yards. He went viral for a couple of juke moves he put on some defenders, and it really highlighted his speed and agility, which is pretty remarkable for being 6'4", 240 pounds. But that first preseason game was not when the hype began for Isaiah Likely. He had been dominating in training camp pretty early on, and Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews really got notice of his performance. Lamar came out and said he's like a receiver with a tight end body. He's like a baby Mark Andrews. We're going to have to see him put the pads on. I don't want to give him too much credit yet. And then Andrews was also asked about Likely, and he said he's got a natural kind of knack feel for the game. He's really fluid. When he sees something open, he takes it. He's got a little bit of me in him for sure. So Likely just coming out of the blue and dominating in preseason is definitely not what has happened. He's been a force all summer long for the Ravens, and he's caught the eyes of the best players on the team, and it was for good reason. But week 1 of the preseason was not even the best performance of Isaiah Likely's preseason thus far. He followed it up last week, doubling his numbers with 8 catches, 100 yards, and 1 touchdown in the first half. Likely did not play a single snap in the second half, and it's pretty ridiculous ridiculous that a rookie came out there and put up those numbers. I think it's becoming more and more likely by the day that Likely is going to have a pretty big role in the Ravens' offense next season. Mark Andrews had a career year last year. He's always been solid since he's entered the NFL, but he really exploded last season for the Ravens. He had 107 catches for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. So Andrews is not going to be replaced whatsoever. He's still going to be the tight end one, and he's still going to receive the most targets and receptions in that offense. But now if you compare Likely, somebody who can put up 600-700 yards and be another big-bodied threat for the Ravens, that is a very scary combo that the Ravens are able to put out on the field. There's been some drama for the Ravens this offseason getting Lamar Jackson a new contract, and early in the spring, that was kind of the news that dominated the headlines for the team. Reporters were asking Lamar almost every single day, hey, do you think a contract is going to get done? And even recently, there's been more questions brought up to Lamar about his contract situation. I said there's going to be a cutoff in the talks. Jackson said when asked if the deal would happen before the season opener. According to some reports, Lamar was being offered more money than Kyler Murray got for his recent contract, but Lamar wanted a fully guaranteed deal, and it's still unclear if the Ravens are going to match those demands set by Lamar. But contract or not, he's got to be very excited with the emergence of his new rookie tight end. A big criticism of the Ravens' roster the last few years has been their weaponry, not having enough viable targets for Lamar Jackson to pass the ball to. And although they got rid of their best wide receiver from a year ago, I think there is a chance that their weapons that they have this year could be a collectively better unit than what they've had in recent memory. If you have Likely and Andrews as your tight ends, and Rashad Bateman can develop and be a very solid wide receiver one, which I hope he can be, and you can't forget about J.K. Dobbins, who's returning from his ACL injury, and Mike Davis has been pretty impressive in preseason as well. So Lamar Jackson has a pretty good stable of weapons, and I think this offense has a chance to be a very good unit next season. But as far as the AFC North goes, I think the Ravens have a good chance to win that division. I believe it's a 2-team race between them and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals did sweep the Ravens last year, but the Ravens were missing a lot of key pieces. Lamar Jackson didn't even play in the second meeting between the teams, so it'll definitely be different this year with the Ravens getting a lot of their key players back healthy. But the rest of the division, I do not think can keep up with the Ravens or the Bengals. I think with the suspension of Deshaun Watson and the Browns having to play Jacoby Brissett for a majority of the season is going to cost them, and I don't see the Browns being a playoff team this year because of it. The Steelers, there's a lot of questions. I like some of their pieces on their defense, and they have some good weaponry on offense, but their offensive line has a ton of question marks, and so does their quarterback position. Is Mitchell Trubisky going to start, or is Kenny Pickett going to start? And if either of them do, how good are they going to be right away? And are they going to be good enough to compete with these top teams in the division? I just don't buy that they will be this season. But Sunday Night Football on October 9th, the Bengals will be traveling to play against Baltimore, their first matchup of the season. I think that has a chance to be a huge game, and it's definitely going to be a good one with the Ravens chasing revenge from last season. But I'm going to be very excited to see this offense this year and what they're able to put together with the added pieces they have and getting back a lot of key players healthy. I think the Ravens will be a dynamic and good team in 2022. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. Let me know what you think of Isaiah Likely and if you think he's going to be a breakout player this year for the Ravens, or if you need to see him do it in the regular season. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.